We live in a world that constantly whispers, "You must have more." More success, more love, more peace, more control. We are taught that life will reward those who never stop striving. And yet, the harder we chase these things, the more they seem to dissolve before our eyes. It is a quiet paradox, the paradox of wanting and clinging. We reach for happiness as if it were an object just out of reach, but the moment we grasp too tightly, it slips away. Like trying to hold a butterfly in the palm of your hand, the very act of grasping crushes the thing we wish to keep. In Buddhism, this paradox is the starting point of wisdom. The Buddha observed that all beings seek happiness, but few understand where it truly lies. We chase after pleasant experiences, people, or achievements, believing that their permanence will make us whole. But everything born from causes and conditions must change. That is the law of anicca, impermanence. When we resist this truth, we suffer. We try to freeze life into shapes that please us. We demand that the world conform to our desires, and we call it failure when it does not. In doing so, we lose the simple joy of being alive in this moment, here and now. Letting go is not an act of defeat. It is not giving up, nor is it passivity. It is the recognition that clinging only tightens the chains of suffering. True peace begins when we stop demanding that life unfold according to our plans. To let go is to trust that life has its own rhythm, sometimes still, sometimes wild. When we soften our grip, we create space for what is naturally ours to find us. It is in this space that freedom breathes. This is the paradox the Buddha revealed. When we stop chasing, we begin to receive. When we stop clinging to control, we discover the quiet abundance that was always waiting beneath the noise. And when we let go of what we think we need, life brings us what our heart truly seeks, not as a reward, but as a reflection of our openness. So the journey of letting go begins not with force, but with awareness, to notice how we grasp, to see the small fears beneath our wanting, and slowly to loosen the hand that has held on for too long, because only an open hand can receive the peace that was never lost. At the root of every struggle lies one quiet word: control. We want life to obey our plans, to follow our timing, to shape itself around our expectations. When it does not, the mind resists. It protests, tightens, and spins countless stories about what should have been. The Buddha called this resistance tanha, craving. It is the thirst of the mind that believes peace lies somewhere else, in some future version of ourselves or the world. We cling to the idea that if only things would stay the way we like them, suffering would end. But life refuses to be held. The seasons turn, people change, health fades, dreams evolve, and our desire to make them stand still is the seed of sorrow. We rarely see how deep this need for control runs. It appears in small moments, when traffic delays us, when someone fails to understand us, when the body grows tired. Each moment of resistance whispers, "This should not be happening." And in that whisper, suffering is born. From a psychological view, the mind clings because it fears uncertainty. Control feels like safety. Letting go feels like falling. So we build invisible walls, plans, labels, and judgments to protect us from the unknown. But these walls become our prison. The tighter we hold, the more fragile we become. Buddhism invites us to look directly at this mechanism of control, not to destroy it, but to understand it. Awareness reveals that control is only a story told by fear. The moment we observe the urge to control without feeding it, something loosens inside. The mind begins to see that impermanence is not the enemy. It is the teacher. The river of life does not obey our grasp. Yet when we stop fighting its current, it carries us exactly where we need to go. This is not fatalism but faith. The quiet confidence that we can meet each moment with presence rather than resistance. When we breathe into change, when we allow impermanence to move through us, a subtle peace arises. We no longer demand that things last forever. We learn to love them while they are here. And in that love, tender, fleeting, yet full, the roots of suffering begin to dissolve. The mind that once sought to control discovers something deeper. That peace is not the power to make life obey, but the wisdom to bow gently to what is. Letting go, two simple words, yet often misunderstood. In the modern world, it is sometimes mistaken for detachment, indifference, or escape. But in Buddhist understanding, letting go is not cold withdrawal from life. It is the warm acceptance of reality as it truly is. To let go does not mean to stop caring. It means to care deeply without needing to control the outcome. It is to love without ownership, to act without demand, to move through life with open hands. The Buddha called this upekkha, equanimity. It is the balance of mind that neither clings to pleasure nor runs from pain. Letting go is not weakness, it is immense courage. Because to release our grip means we must face the truth of impermanence, anicca. Everything changes, every moment dies as it is born. When we resist this truth, we suffer. When we bow to it, we awaken. Think of the mind like a pond. When stirred by desire or aversion, the water becomes cloudy. But when we stop stirring, when we let be, the mud settles on its own. Clarity returns not because we forced it, but because we ceased to interfere. Letting go is the same. It is not a dramatic act, but a quiet ceasing. We stop forcing our will upon life. We allow the mind to rest. And from that stillness, insight naturally arises. This is why the Buddha taught non-attachment, vairagya, as the path to freedom. Attachment ties us to endless cycles of wanting and loss. Non-attachment does not erase desire. It simply means we are no longer owned by it. We can appreciate beauty without trying to possess it. We can feel sadness without drowning in it. We can experience success without becoming addicted to it. Psychology now mirrors this ancient wisdom. Therapists speak of a radical acceptance, the practice of embracing what we cannot change. It does not mean resignation. It means reality is seen clearly without resistance. And in that clarity, energy once spent on struggle becomes available for peace. To let go is to trust that we do not need to grasp for what is already ours. Peace, joy, and love are not distant prizes. They are the natural state beneath our clinging. When the hand opens, what was always within is revealed. So letting go is not the end of something. It is the beginning of seeing, the gentle awakening from illusion to truth. And in that seeing, the heart becomes light. Mindfulness is the gentle bridge between clinging and release. It does not demand that we stop our thoughts or silence our emotions. It simply invites us to watch them, to see how they rise, stay for a moment, and pass. In this awareness, we begin to loosen our grip on everything we once tried to hold still. The Buddha taught that mindfulness is the path to liberation because it returns us to the only place where life truly happens. This moment. When we dwell in the past, we cling to memory. When we live in the future, we cling to expectation. But the present requires no clinging. It only asks to be seen. To be mindful is to live as the witness, not the prisoner of the experience. We observe sensations, thoughts, and feelings as passing clouds across an open sky. The sky never resists. It never holds on. It simply allows everything to move through. This is how presence transforms suffering. When we are fully here, we are not lost in craving or aversion. We do not add stories to our pain or try to escape it. We see it directly. And in that seeing, its power begins to fade. Modern psychology echoes this truth. When attention is anchored in the now, through breath, sound, or body, the nervous system begins to calm. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of awareness, gently rebalances the amygdala, the seat of fear. In short, mindfulness rewires the brain for peace. But mindfulness is more than technique. It is a way of being, soft, awake, non-reactive. It is not about making each moment perfect, but about meeting each moment perfectly as it is. Imagine sitting by a stream, watching leaves float by. Each leaf is a thought, a memory, an emotion. We do not reach into the water to stop them. We let them drift. Soon we realize the stream flows by itself. Our only task is to stay by its bank, calm, attentive, breathing. In the same way, mindfulness lets life flow. We stop fighting the current and start moving with it. We learn to trust the rhythm of the breath, the unfolding of events, the wisdom within stillness. Letting go is not a distant goal. It happens right here, with every mindful breath that says, I see you, thought. I see you, fear. And I do not need to follow. And in that moment of awareness, we are free. Inside each of us, there are emotional loops, silent, repetitive patterns of reaction. Someone says a harsh word and the same wave rises in us again. A memory appears and we fall into the same sorrow, the same anger, the same anxiety. It feels automatic, as though we have no choice. But Buddhism teaches that these loops are not destiny. They are habits of the mind, and habits can be unlearned. When a thought arises, it triggers an emotion. The emotion strengthens the thought, and the cycle tightens. We live inside that loop, calling it me. Yet awareness can interrupt it. The moment we see the process as it unfolds, we step outside the cycle. Observation becomes liberation. The Buddha called this understanding paticca samuppada, dependent origination. Nothing exists independently. Every emotion depends on conditions. When we bring mindfulness to those conditions, they lose their unconscious grip. Anger cannot survive the light of awareness. Fear cannot thrive when it is met with calm attention. From the perspective of modern psychology, this is emotional regulation. The brain learns through repetition. The more we feed a reaction, the stronger it grows. But when we pause, breathe, and observe instead of reacting, we weaken the old pathways and create new ones. Neurons that once fired in panic now rest in peace. The nervous system learns safety again. The path is not to suppress emotion, but to hold it in loving awareness. When sadness arises, we simply acknowledge, sadness is here. When anger appears, we breathe and say, this too. No judgment, no resistance, only presence. The emotion, seen clearly, dissolves into its natural impermanence. It helps to remember that emotion are visitors, not owners. They come, they stay for a while, and they leave. When we cling to them, they linger. When we open space, they pass. This is why meditation is not about emptying the mind, but about seeing clearly the nature of all that arises within it. Imagine standing in a storm. At first, the wind feels unbearable. But if you stop fighting it and stand still, you begin to feel its rhythm, its passing. The storm was never personal, it was simply weather. So too are our emotions. To see them as weather of the mind is to reclaim peace. To understand their impermanence is to realize we are not the storm, we are the sky that holds it. Letting go is often spoken of as an idea, but in truth, it is a living practice, something we return to moment by moment, breath by breath. It is not accomplished through effort alone, but through the quiet consistency of awareness. To let go is to practice presence in motion. One of the simplest ways to begin is with the breath. The breath is a teacher of impermanence and release. Each inhale receives life. Each exhale lets it go. We cannot cling to the breath, just as we cannot cling to time. When we truly feel the breath, not think about it, but feel it, the mind begins to loosen its grip on control. A modern expression of this practice is the RAIN method. Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. When discomfort arises, we first recognize it. Here is fear, or here is tension. Then we allow it to be, without suppression or denial. Next, we investigate its nature, where it lives in the body, what story it carries, what it wants us to see. Finally, we nurture the moment with kindness, reminding ourselves, it's okay to feel this. I am here. This is mindfulness in action, a gentle undoing of old knots. Buddhism also teaches letting go through metta or loving kindness meditation. When we send thoughts of goodwill, may I be peaceful, may others be peaceful, we soften the hard edges of the mind. We learn that love does not depend on outcome. It flows naturally when we stop protecting the self. Another practice is reflection on impermanence, anicca sati. To sit quietly and contemplate that all things, sensations, thoughts, people, even mountains, arise and fade. At first, this truth may feel heavy, but over time, it becomes liberating. Because if everything changes, then our pain too must pass. And if nothing can be held, then we are free to meet life freshly in each moment. Letting go is not achieved through denial or suppression. It is not a single moment of release, but a continuous returning to openness. Each time the mind tightens, we notice. Each time fear rises, we breathe. Each time the heart closes, we invite it to soften. Even small acts in daily life become practice. When you set down your phone, when you forgive a mistake, when you allow silence to fill the space between words, these are all gestures of letting go. Over time, we learn that peace does not come from what we remove, but from what we allow. And that the art of letting go is, at its core, the art of remembering that nothing was ever truly ours to hold. When the mind grows quiet, something profound begins to unfold. Beyond words and effort, there is a stillness that has always been here, waiting beneath the noise of thought, beneath the movement of desire. It is in silence that we finally meet ourselves. The Buddha often compared this silence to a clear lake. When the winds of craving and fear die down, the surface becomes still, and in that stillness, the depths are revealed. Clarity is not something we chase. It appears naturally when we stop stirring the waters of the mind. In the world, we are surrounded by noise, not only sound, but mental noise. The inner commentary, the self-criticism, the endless comparisons. It fills our days so completely that we forget what true silence feels like. But the moment we pause, when we allow a breath to arrive fully and leave fully, we glimpse the vast peace beneath it all. Stillness is not absence. It is presence in its purest form. It is the space in which everything happens, yet it belongs to nothing. When you sit in quiet, the world does not disappear. It simply softens, revealing its deeper rhythm. In monasteries, silence is used as a mirror. When speech fades, the mind turns inward and begins to hear its own echo. We start to see our patterns, the subtle restlessness, the constant seeking. And we understand how much energy we spend trying to fill the emptiness. But the emptiness we fear is not void, it is fullness beyond measure. It is the quiet field where wisdom blooms. In modern psychology, this state resembles what researchers call mindful presence, a balanced awareness that neither suppresses nor indulges. In this presence, brain activity associated with anxiety and rumination diminishes, while regions linked to empathy and self-regulation awaken. Silence literally reshapes the mind toward peace. You do not need a mountain or monastery to find it. You can find it while washing dishes, walking under trees, or sitting alone in the soft light of morning. Listen, not for sound, but for the stillness that holds all sound. Feel the gentle hum of being alive, unadorned, unhurried. In that silence, life is no longer something to manage or improve. It simply is. And you, for the first time, realize you too simply are. When silence becomes your teacher, you begin to see that everything you were chasing was always within this stillness. And that letting go is not the loss of self, but the discovery of it. Letting go becomes real only when it touches the ordinary. The moments we live, the people we love, the work we do. Philosophy without practice is air. It must take form in our actions, our words, and our way of being in the world. In work, letting go means doing what must be done without clinging to results. We give our best effort, yet release the craving for recognition or control. When success comes, we bow in gratitude. When it does not, we bow in the same way. Because in both, there is learning. This is what the Buddha called right effort rooted not in greed or fear, but in awareness. We still move, build, create, but the movement arises from peace, not from restlessness. In relationships, letting go means loving without possession. It is the freedom to care deeply while allowing others to walk their own path. Love becomes a space, not a cage, a river, not a chain. When we stop clinging to how others should be, we meet them as they truly are. And in that acceptance, love matures from desire into compassion. The more we let others be free, the closer we feel to them. For true connection arises only where control ends. In solitude, letting go means befriending ourselves. We are often afraid of being alone because we meet the parts of us we've ignored. But solitude is not emptiness. It is the ground where self-knowledge grows. When we can sit quietly with our own heart, the fear of loneliness fades, replaced by a simple intimacy with life itself. To sit alone and breathe in peace is not escape. It is reunion. Life will always present us with change, endings, beginnings, uncertainty. Letting go allows us to meet these moments without breaking. When something ends, a job, a friendship, a chapter of life, we breathe, we bow, we release. because every ending carries within it the seed of renewal. As a leaf falls from the tree, it nourishes the soil for what will come next. In the rhythm of daily living, letting go becomes the heartbeat of wisdom. We learn to act fully and then step back. We learn to speak truth and then fall silent. We learn to hold and to release again and again until balance becomes our nature. To live this way is to understand that peace does not mean inaction. It means action without bondage. We still walk, still work, still love, but now every step is lighter because we no longer carry the world, we move with it. There is an old story told by teachers of the path, the parable of the closed fist. A traveler once walked through a desert, thirsty and tired. In the distance, he saw a small spring where clear water glimmered beneath the sun. He ran toward it, bent down, and scooped the water into his hand. But afraid it might slip away, he clenched his fist tightly, hoping to keep it longer. When he opened his hand again, it was dry. Confused, he tried once more, this time gently holding the water with an open palm. For a few moments, it stayed. He realized then that to keep the water, he must not grip it. The tighter the fist, the less it holds. This is the heart of letting go. What we try to control, we often lose. What we allow to flow freely, we often keep. Not because we hold it, but because we are aligned with its nature. Love, peace, happiness, even success, they are like that water. When we cling, they vanish. When we relax, they return. The open hand does not command the world, it receives it, and in receiving, it discovers abundance. The parable also speaks to the illusion of ownership. We do not own what passes through our lives, not people, not experiences, not time itself. Everything we meet is borrowed, flowing through the open palm of our existence. To realize this is not sadness, it is liberation. Because if nothing is ours to lose, then nothing can truly be taken away. In psychological terms, this is the movement from attachment to flow. When we live with an open hand, we stop forcing outcomes. We become attuned to life's rhythm, its giving and taking, its rise and fall. We act, we feel, we love, yet through it all, we remain free. Imagine your own life as a river. You cannot hold the river in your hands, but you can walk beside it, bathe in it, drink from it, and be nourished by it. When you stop trying to own the current, you realize it has been carrying you all along. Letting go is not about losing. It is about seeing clearly. It is about trusting that what leaves makes space for what is next. The traveler in the story finally drank from the spring, cupping the water gently in open hands. And in that simple act of surrender, thirst turned to peace. At the end of every journey comes stillness, a quiet place where the mind, once restless, begins to understand. After all the striving, the searching, the endless reaching for something more, we realize that what we sought was never far away. It was hidden beneath the layers of grasping, waiting patiently for us to stop. This is the still point, the center of the turning world. Here, everything moves, yet nothing disturbs. Thoughts come and go like waves, yet beneath them, the ocean of awareness remains unbroken. In this silence, we no longer chase life, we breathe with it. The Buddha called this peace nibbana, not as a faraway heaven, but as the extinguishing of the fire of craving. When that fire cools, what remains is clarity, compassion, and ease. Life continues, the same work, the same relationships, the same daily rhythms, but they are no longer heavy. because the one who grasps them has dissolved. Letting go does not mean abandoning life. It means living without fear, without excess, without demand. It is a shift from I must have to I am enough, from I will be happy when to happiness is here. And in that shift, everything changes. Desire becomes appreciation, effort becomes flow. Relationships become exchanges of freedom rather than contracts of need. Even sorrow becomes softer, not something to escape, but something to embrace as part of the whole. When you no longer chase the future, life begins to approach you. When you no longer cling to outcomes, events unfold with unexpected grace. This is not magic. It is alignment with the way things truly are. The universe responds not to grasping, but to openness. So, as you listen now, perhaps take one deep, quiet breath. Feel a rise and fall, the receiving, the releasing. This is the rhythm of everything. The waves, the heart, the seasons, the life you live. Each exhale is a letting go. Each inhale, a beginning. When you understand this, nothing more needs to be done. You rest in the flow of existence, aware, alive, at peace. And you realize that letting go was never about loss. It was about returning to the vast stillness that has always been your true home.